During the 1960s, the Beatles and the Rolling Stones were often portrayed by the media as fierce rivals, the clean-cut pop geniuses versus the rebellious bad boys of British rock. Yet behind the headlines and fan-fueled comparisons, members of both bands maintained a surprisingly friendly connection. They occasionally crossed creative paths, sharing studios, stages, and even moments of personal introspection. George Harrison once offered a lighthearted memory that captured this behind-the-scenes camaraderie. He recalled how Rolling Stones frontman Mick Jagger always seemed to appear wherever the Beatles were, especially during moments of deep reflection. One particular story came from 1967, when the Beatles traveled to Bangor, Wales, to attend a seminar on transcendental meditation with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. It was a time of transition and soul-searching for the band. Their beloved manager Brian Epstein had just passed away, and their interest in Eastern spirituality was beginning to take root. Harrison, deeply moved by Indian philosophy, encouraged his bandmates to join him on this new spiritual journey. Ringo Starr described how the entire trip came together on a whim. "At that time, my wife Maureen was in hospital having Jason, and I was visiting," he recalled in the Beatles anthology. "I came home and put on the answer phone, and there was a message from John. 'Oh man, we've seen this guy, and we're all going to Wales. You've got to come.' The next message was from George saying, 'Wow man, we've seen him. Maharishi's great. We're all going to Wales on Saturday, and you've got to come.'" Harrison remembered how the spontaneous decision turned into one of their most profound group experiences. Maharishi happened to be having a seminar in Bangor, and had said, "Come tomorrow and I'll show you how to meditate." So the next day we jumped on a train and went. Amid this newfound spiritual exploration, Harrison noticed someone familiar tagging along. Mick Jagger was also there, he said with amusement. He was always lurking around in the background, trying to find out what was happening. Mick never wanted to miss out on what the Fabs were doing. Years later, Mick Jagger would pay tribute to Harrison in Rolling Stone magazine's Remembering George, reflecting on the guitarist's lifelong commitment to spirituality. He very much concentrated on the spiritual side of his life, and it was more than a passing fancy, Jagger said. It looked like it was a sort of faddish thing at the time, but it stayed with him. Paul McCartney echoed that sentiment, recognizing Harrison's unwavering faith. You got the feeling that most people were dabbling in spirituality, but for George, it was perhaps the major part of his life once he discovered it, McCartney said. And it's very easy to ridicule someone who does that, and he was ridiculed. There's no doubt about that, especially in England, for being like that. But he did follow through on the courage of his convictions. He stayed with it and never rejected it. Despite decades of stories about rivalry, McCartney made it clear that the tension between the Beatles and the Rolling Stones was largely exaggerated. The idea of our being rivals with the Rolling Stones was newspaper talk, he explained. It was natural that we would seem to be rivals, but in fact, George got them their recording contract. He was at a party with Dick Rowe, the man famous for having turned the Beatles down for Decca. In truth, the two legendary bands often supported and inspired each other. They shared songwriting credits, contributed backing vocals, and even made guest appearances on each other's records. Proof that while the world saw competition, what truly existed between them was mutual respect, curiosity, and a shared love of music that defined a generation.